headed into the final 2 months of Season 2, and the Milwaukee Bucks are currently 34-26 while holding on to the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. While we didn't make the playoffs last season, we have a chance to make them this year. Can this team keep up their dominant play the last 2 months of the season as we make a push for the top seed in the playoffs this episode? Let's find out. We were at home to start the month of March, and we're taking on the Golden State Warriors, who were a pretty even matchup for us. Even though their record on the season was only a game and a half back from our current record, they were fighting to stay in playoff contention currently, as that goes to show how tough the West is this season. And the way this game was looking for them so far tonight, it was not going to do them any favors in that regard. Kyle Korver was still coming off the bench for us this month in place of an injured Keon Dooling, and while he was almost fully recovered, we were still floating the idea of keeping him on reserves when he did return, and instead having Kyle Korver take his place coming off of the bench in our rotation. That would include plans of us moving on from the veteran point guard this upcoming offseason, but if we could keep playing like this, we should be good without him. Rookie Dante Wooden would start us off with a deep 2 in the second half, as it was nearing the end of the third quarter and the Warriors had still yet to cut this lead down past double digits tonight. But Curry would cook one up from beyond the arc to cut it down to an 8-point game, as this one was closer than we'd like headed into the fourth. Wooden would come out and give us some breathing room with a fast break 3-pointer, and then Kyle Korver would show off his passing skills as he'd find Larry Sanders, who would make it a 15-point game. Our fast-paced offense would keep the game flowing for us in the fourth quarter against the Warriors, and what was once an 8-point game was now a 25-point lead for the Bucks and would turn into a 22-point win at home tonight. Our win streak would fall 1 game short of 10 with a heartbreaking loss to the Wizards, and after 2 losses in a row, we would bounce back against Boston and thankfully still hold on to the 4th seed in the conference. We wanted to start another win streak this month and could do so up north against Toronto tonight, but the Raptors would end up being the team to score the first bucket in this game. We were just coming off of an 88-83 victory on the road against the Boston Celtics, and they were one of the top teams in the league this season, so we were feeling confident tonight. It looked like we were going to need that confidence tonight though, as we were in a close one with the Raptors at the end of the first quarter. The Raptors had done a great job on defense so far tonight, slowing down our pick and roll offense, which had been critical to our success, and they were giving the rest of the league the blueprint on how to stop our bigs in the paint as well. It was paying off for Toronto, as once again they would take a lead over us before halftime, and with one more 3-pointer this half from Leonardo Barbosa, the Raptors would head into halftime with a 1-point lead over us. We needed to turn things around in the second half, and rookie Dante Wooden would get things started for us. We also needed our defense to step up the rest of this game if we wanted a chance to beat Toronto tonight. Thankfully, both sides of the ball seemed to turn it around this quarter, as we would go up by 10 over the Raptors, but we would give up one last bucket this quarter to Toronto to cut our lead to 8 headed into the fourth. The Raptors seemed to be gaining back their momentum as they would strike first to start the fourth quarter, but our rookie stretch 4 Luis Roberts would hit a big time 3 for us to go back up by double digits. Thankfully, our offense would start to catch fire here in the fourth quarter and extend our lead, and what was once a close game here in Toronto was no longer a competitive one tonight, as we'd make it 2 wins in a row with this 16-point victory. Unfortunately, that would be the last game we would win in over a week, so we had to end this 3-game losing streak tonight against the Clippers. The game footage would end up getting corrupted, but we would win behind a dominant 28-point performance from Brandon Jennings. Every game was crucial for us, as we had not locked in a playoff spot yet, and only the Thunder and the Grizzlies in the West had secured a spot, and the Celtics, Heat, and Bulls in the East. It was coming down to crunch time for us, as we only had 9 games left in season number 2. These last few games had a huge impact on the postseason, as we could either clinch the 4th seed and home court advantage, or if we start losing a lot over the next 2 weeks, we could drop to the 5th or 6th seed and lose home court advantage in the first round. So it was very important that we were winning every game we could in this last stretch of games in the regular season. We were going to have to play a lot better than we were tonight so far though, if we wanted to make that happen for us, and thankfully Brandon Jennings would get us the lead back here in the second quarter against the 76ers, and we needed the 3 ball to start heating up for us like this if we wanted to extend this lead over them. It wasn't happening for us though so far, and Philadelphia would manage to cut it down to a 2-point game, and that is how we would head into the locker room at halftime. With the death beams pointed at planet Earth, Andre Iguodala came out and scored the first bucket for the Sixers in the second half, and no matter what we seemed to do on offense, they would answer right back and tie the game back up. We would finally get some momentum going our way with a 3-pointer from Michael Redd, and we would manage to get our lead up to 7 points headed into the fourth quarter. It took a while for us to get it going tonight, but finally the offense was starting to heat up now in the fourth, and if we wanted a successful playoff run, we couldn't have slow starts like this anymore. Thankfully, we were just the better team out there on the court tonight against Philadelphia, as we would take them down on the road with a 62-45 victory, with Brandon Jennings posting yet another impressive stat line for us in the win. We would follow that up with a tough road loss to the Cavaliers, and only had a 2.5 game lead on the 5th seeded Pistons with 7 games remaining. This game against Boston would be tough as they were the top seed in the Eastern Conference, and early on in this game, they were showing us why they were one of the best teams in the league this year. We would finally get it back to a 2-point game, but didn't have a lead the entire first quarter tonight against them, and it was looking like that wasn't going to change anytime soon, unfortunately for us. They just couldn't seem to miss from anywhere no matter how tough of a shot they had, and we were the exact opposite as we hadn't been able to hit any shots or get any rebounds tonight against them. Our fans were not going to be happy if this is how their team was playing headed into the playoffs to end the season, as thankfully we would get our very first 3-pointer of the night to fall at the buzzer, but would head into the locker room down by 7 to the Celtics and were shooting an atrocious 30% from the field. We desperately needed to turn things around in the second half tonight against Boston, but it wasn't looking like things would change soon as the Celtics would go up by double digits in the third. We would fight back the rest of the quarter to make it only a 4-point lead for them headed into the fourth, and with less than a minute to go, Lonnie Roberts would come up huge with this shot to cut it down to 2 points, and fellow rookie Dante Wooden would show off his shooting skills the very next possession as he would give us our very first lead of the night. But veteran Rajon Rondo would answer right back with a bucket of his own for the Celtics, and we would trust the rookie Wooden to put the ball in his hands for the game-winning shot, but he would end up missing it, and Boston would get the 1-point victory over us here at home. We would thankfully follow that game up with a victory over Atlanta and tack on another win against the Bobcats to follow it up, as those wins would finally lock us our spot in the playoffs, but we were still fighting with the Pistons for home court advantage in the first round, so that meant this matchup had huge implications for both teams tonight. We needed to win this game against Detroit tonight because it gave us an opportunity to lock up the 4th seed in the playoffs and home court advantage. And funny enough, the Pistons are most likely the team that we will end up playing in the first round, so this game tonight against them will give us a good idea of how we stack up against them. Things were looking very promising so far to start this game tonight against Detroit, as this is the offense that needs to show up in the playoffs and not the one that showed up against Boston last game. We were moving the ball quickly and efficiently on fast breaks and hitting threes from all over the court tonight. The combination of those factors plus great team defense tonight would help us extend our lead over Detroit in the first half, and we would head into halftime with a 15-point lead over them. That lead would stay the same through the first half of quarter number 3 until rookie Dante Wooden would knock down this fast break 3-pointer, as we would eventually get our lead up to 24 points over the Pistons in the third quarter, and it was not getting any better for them on defense in the fourth quarter at all either. We would keep knocking down open shots all game long against the Pistons tonight on the road, as we would walk away with a very important win for our team tonight. After picking up a win against Indiana the following night, as well as a win against the 76ers, we officially locked in the 4th seed for us in the playoffs. There was some big news headed into the last night of the regular season, and that was that Kevin Garnett would be out the entirety of the playoffs for the top-seeded Celtics with a strained Achilles. Now, I definitely do not want to get ahead of ourselves here as the playoffs have not even started, but I think the Celtics are a much more beatable team without Kevin Garnett playing for them. That would require us, though, to first get a series victory in the first round, and we don't even know who that will be against. It has been a common theme this season for our team that we seem to struggle with better teams. Everything about our play, from our defense to shooting, just seems to become non-existent when we find ourselves in tough matchups. And tonight's game against the top-seeded Thunder in the West was a perfect example of that trend, as we were headed into halftime down 14 to them. We were trying our best to slowly claw our way back into this game against the Thunder in the second half, as this big shot from Dante Wooden on the fast break would bring it down to only an 8-point game. We couldn't seem to make much more of a comeback than that, though, as the closest we could get would be 7 points, and OKC would hand us a loss in our regular season finale. We would finish season number 2 45-37 and would be taking on the Philadelphia 76ers in the first round of the playoffs. Brandon Jennings was our team's leading scorer this season, as well as our team leader in assists, while Andrew Bogut led the way for us in rebounding. Dante Wooden finished as the 3rd-ranked rookie this season, averaging 9-2-1, and Lonnie Roberts finished ranked 7th, averaging 5-4-1. LeBron was the season 2 MVP. First overall pick Fernando Chavez won Rookie of the Year. Paul George was 6th Man of the Year. Dwight Howard took home Defensive Player. Charlie Villanueva was Most Improved, and Brendan Stafford won Coach of the Year for leading the Grizzlies to the 2nd seed in the West. Dante Wooden was named to the All-NBA Rookie First Team, and his counterpart in Lonnie Roberts was named to the All-NBA Rookie Second Team, as they were both critical players in our rotation that got us to the playoffs, where we will pick it up next episode.